What's up? What's up? Happy Wednesday, April 15th, also known as Tax Day. Or is yesterday Tax Day? I don't know. Nobody pays taxes anymore. Nothing matters anymore. Caleb, how long you been avoiding taxes? Long time?
I don't recall.
Lost count. Anyways, nice to have you here.
Nice to be here. But yeah, it's a lovely day. Capital markets in America are apparently booming. A lot of good news out there. I guess closing of the Strait of Hormuz and then opening it. Can't open something until it's closed. So I think makes sense to close it first and then open it. And apparently that was good for the markets.
Big day for everybody.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we've been obviously moving and shaking. Things have been busy. What have we been up to? We actually finalized our long form agreement on this transaction and signed, which is awesome. And now those signatures are held in escrow until we finalize the payment, which should be very shortly here. And then in a perfect world, we're making this announcement in the next week or so internally, and then getting ready to make a larger kind of announcement. It's actually lined up really nicely with the with the time of year where before everyone goes on summer break. We should be able to make a nice announcement and maybe line it up with Cannes, right around the Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah,
give us an excuse to go to Cannes.
I've been looking for a good excuse to go to Cannes, and this one really is a good one. We actually have a meeting on Monday with a PR firm to discuss our strategy, or they're not really a PR firm, they're more a communications firm.
Yeah.
And looking at how to kind of roll out the information and how to explain what we're doing in an impactful way where you're not just throwing out a press release and it just gets lost in the world.
Yeah. Also, their focus is more on the corporate communication side rather than what I guess you could say is like the consumer communication side. So it's not the type, it's more of like a B2B target on communications and the places where that news will be placed, and that can end up getting into a lot of consumer publications, but at least initially, like working from that B2B basis, which is great because that's a lot of the publications that I think people know and trust. And then it's definitely global news, and yeah, it's a big one. So we're getting fired up. We're getting fired up to get this one over the finish line. But man, it is going to be a haul just to push over the finish line for sure. It was never going to be easy, but yeah, we're right there. And then once we do complete, then there's a bunch of like administrative work and things that need to be kind of managed on the back end with regards to setting up kind of, I guess you could say, like initial operational scope. And then we were not planning initially to get this thing moving like on a public basis until next year. But now we've been talking about doing like I don't know if you call it a beta, but doing like a preliminary kind of very narrow initial debut, and using that as like a catalyst for testing a lot of this like is technology and building momentum towards what could be essentially a big launch for next year, rather than waiting and just waiting 6 months, 7, 8 months to actually do it. So could be taking a faster path to actual utility there, and that's also pretty exciting.
Yeah, it'll be nice to get this thing live and to put this into I guess a test zone isn't really the right word, because you'll have to go launch it. I mean, you'll have to go put this thing into kind of a public container. but it'll be, I guess, like a soft launch where
Yeah, soft launch. Yeah, I think
you're
that's
putting it into a single location and letting people use it. They'll only be able to use it probably on desktop, mobile, and that single CTV that we enable.
yeah.
But yeah, it'd be cool to take it live and to show people what we've been building.
Yeah, it's really cool because as we've been talking about, what it is, what it does, the problems it solves. I haven't had anybody say that's not a problem that I have. Like everyone is truly been struggling with you could call it like content, either content overload or challenging finding the content that they're looking for, or sometimes not even knowing what the content they're looking for is, but can't find it. So it's like I'm looking for someone to watch, but it's just what's on. And always, there's no question that content is king and content wins. And if um, if you're looking for someone to watch and can't find something good, that's clearly a problem. So, you can't just have like something that's taking you to a place where you can get content, but the content's bad. Like you do need high quality content. So that'll be obviously an important factor. But I think taking a page from the Netflix playbook, it's clear that like personalization is something that's become really important. Also, just like a page from the mobile phone playbook, that everybody's phones are personalized, right? It's like which apps that you put on your home screen, which apps that you use frequently and consistently or daily, hourly. Everyone uses their devices differently and it's tailored to their interests, preferences, mood, etc. And no one's really brought that same experience to kind of into the television space. And so that I think has really been a compelling thesis for us, which is how do we improve the discovery process around content, and then how do we tie in, some of the key factors that were really important in the packet story, into this kind of new endeavor, kind of coming under a very recognizable brand and building from there. So it'll fun. And then the other thing that we've been talking about, and it was interesting because this was an initial conversation right when Packet launched on Base. We were hearing a lot of um, early rumblings around AI agents. And it's just crazy to see where that's evolved to over the last, I guess going on 2 years. It's just now become relatively ubiquitous. And I'm pretty fascinated with it. I haven't dug deep into it, but I've been fantasizing about how we can use, AI agents into this next iteration of the Packet story, and also kind of shedding a tear about the fact that we weren't using AI agents to build the Packet roadmap for the last half decade. That just makes me cry.
But you can't cry over something that didn't exist.
I
It's
know.
like, man, I just can't believe we didn't have any of modern technology when the pyramids were being built, and they used all those slaves.
Yeah, it's a tough break. But I mean, I am very excited about what's going to be possible here with incorporating AI agents, and also, our community, it's not like people are out there, grabbing a laboring oar, so to speak, but there's so many pieces of this story that you can just like vibe code now.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking about the gaps between like Anode VPN and even like optimizing the dashboard and all these different parts of the of the roadmap that you can literally just get into a conversation with Claude and it can go and like do it, fixing things on the website. Like it's just all these different things that are like, oh, that would be so much work to do. And now, you could just do it in a snap of a finger. Like you could rewrite all the text. That was like a thing. I actually remember someone having having one of our virtual assistants go through, grab all the text from the website and put it in a Google Doc and send it to one of us and be like, hey, when you have time, rewrite all the text.
Yeah.
now you could literally give that Google Doc to Claude with a prompt and have it finished in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, it's just crazy. So I think a lot of the, blockades that we've experienced in, I guess you call it productivity, but execution or delivery, can be truly, uh, you know, intermediated with AI agents. And I haven't set up like a Claude bot yet. I know you haven't yet either, right, Caleb? I mean, you've used Claude, but you haven't set up any like AI agents and started messing around with it yet. Any of that code,
Yeah, no, not the bot.
not the bot.
I just ask it what I want. It just gives me the answer, and I just paste it.
Right. Well, and that's obviously incredibly powerful. And I've been using that for years now. And it's for sure a game changer. I actually think back about when we were writing a lot of articles and we were using AI in the beginning, and it was so bad. It was just so bad. And also, like, I think ChatGPT has truly become an inferior product to Anthropic's Claude. Like, I think Claude is, from what I'm seeing, like the documents it's creating, the presentations it's creating. I can't really critique its coding because that's not my forte, but man, the
People
other
say
high level.
it's the one for coding.
Is it if Claude as well on coding?
Yeah, that's what people say. I kind of use it a little bit for code stuff, and I use GPT more for like research. Like, can you find the answer to this question stuff?
Right. Also, I've noticed, well, clearly for you, because I remember like the stuff that you were building, let's say in like 2020, and you used to be like, oh, it's just going to be absolute trash front end. And then when you started letting AI build you just like a rudimentary front end, it came out, it was like, hey, this is actually really good. It's basic and, it doesn't have bells and whistles, but it's at least not a piece of shit anymore. So that's been cool to see you do that. But you haven't built something like that for any packet related stuff in the past year. And I think everything's like accelerated
Yeah,
dramatically.
no, my wife did a website using AI, and apparently it worked. I mean, she was trying to do it with GPT and it wasn't working, and then she went to Claude. Claude just made a website. It was a whole website too. So
Yeah, it's interesting.
yeah, I mean, for normal stuff, I think typical stuff that lots of people do. It's pretty much there. My Most of the stuff I'm doing is stuff that nobody does.
Yeah.
There's stuff that I do that I always just say, hey, can you give me, like, my favorite is web server configurations. It's every single time I'm like, give me a web server configuration. I'll do this, this, and this, because I can read it. I can read its output, and I kind of know that it's not, it's not going to be too crazy, and that's super effective.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for years, but most of the stuff that I work on, I can hand over like a function. That is typally where I'm at. I don't think. I think. I'm not sure, but I think it still gets into trouble when it's like 100,000 plus line of code projects, because it can't parse the whole thing, and not in one shot.
Even
So,
Claude can do big code reviews, like they have a limitation on line count.
okay, so the OpenWRT people are actually adopting Claude for code reviews, and it reviews the patch. So that seems to be pretty good for review. And I mean, it makes silly mistakes, but programmers do too. So
I mean, look, I've been using it for contract work, and yeah, it makes mistakes for sure. But what I've always said this, it's easier to edit something than it is to write something from scratch. That's just how I feel about text. And even if I end up rewriting it almost 80%, at least gets you in the door where you're not having to write it, from zero, nothing on the page. And I found that to be very convenient and helpful. And at least, makes things move a lot quicker. It'd be interesting when you're talking about, let's say, like Anode VPN, and we created the Android version, And we talked, how many people did we talk to about doing an iOS version? And everyone's like, oh, I don't know. There's going to be all these like known kind of issues and challenges. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of money. I just wonder if now we brought that problem to Claude and brought the tech and said, hey, do this, make us an iOS version of Anode VPN. I wonder what would happen.
Well, there's two problems. One is just make an app. That's become fairly easy.
Sure.
It used to be three problems. Now there's two. It used to be that there was the app, the blockchain, and the CGDNS, the VPN. Whatever VPN it is, got to be VPN. Now it's two problems: the VPN and the app. So it's easier than it was, but some of the VPN stuff is a little bit esoteric. There's maybe like 10 or so people in the world doing it. Not because it's only 10 people that can do it. It's just because how many people do you need developing VPNs on a phone? You know, there's only like 10 VPNs, so there's 10 people. And I mean actual VPN protocols, you know, because you can have a million VPNs, you know, all those guys, they're all using the same protocols. So adding another protocol, then that's the challenge. And if you're not adding another protocol, then you don't get all the fun stuff like DVPN, community run nodes and that type of stuff. You kind of stuck back at like enter your username and password and connect to wherever you gave them your credit card, that kind of VPN.
Right. I guess, well, the issue that we had in the past was something, and correct me if I'm wrong, but was it around CJDNS and iOS? Was that the issue?
That was one of them. It was multifaceted. It was, you know, there was a UI, and that one's solved.
Right. We could do that quickly now.
Number two was that blockchain, you know, the old blockchain, and that was a pain. You know, you take that wallet wherever you went, and that's gone because we don't use that anymore.
Right, for base.
Base stuff is very well supported.
Yeah.
Although it annoys me a little bit that I can't find easily RPC servers, and so that's a bit annoying. All the RPC servers are very limited, the public ones. Anyway, and number three was CGDNS, and I think we had a lot of trouble with the blockchain, and that kind of kept us from even getting to three. You know, I don't think we even tried three. That was the issue. We didn't even get to where we were trying to attack three because we got stalled out on one.
Right.
And it was probably, you know, well, it was the world that we had at the time.
Indeed, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it'd be interesting to put this problem into Claude and see what it comes out with, because we haven't even done that yet.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I mean, it might come up with something that we haven't even thought of, and it might come up with some straight BS that's not even usable, and we're, you know, at the same boat that we're in right now. But it would be interesting to dump, you know, the GitHub in there and some of that old stuff that Adonis had done, and, you know, separate from, like you said, the app, because we could obviously deliver the app into it and say, hey, make this into a more modern, more functional app. These are the things that, you know, that we don't like.
The stuff that Adonis did, that was really the hard stuff, was that blockchain. So that's all gone now. So we don't have to solve it. It's gone.
Right.
There's the UI, of course. I think, what would be illustrative would be to ask Claude, hey, do you think you could make a patch to CJDNS that would make it work as an iOS app? And see just how far it gets. And I don't think it's going to get there. I don't think it's going to pull it off, because that's very esoteric. Yeah. But it would be very interesting to see just how far it got.
What reference material would you give? Like what would you give it, like a GitHub repo and some documentation like you had created? Because you created some, you know, some architecture. I remember you working on like a Google Doc, and you were like, hey, here's kind of the basic architecture and how we'd approach it. And you actually even spec'd it maybe like 3 years ago on what it would look like. But yeah.
Things. One is bandwidth market. And that's an interesting topic to explore, but that's not iOS. iOS support.
Sure. I was talking about
where CJDNS is now. You could go into iOS support and get it to work as an iOS app. Exactly, and it will do the same thing it does now, but it will work in an iOS app. You could also take what it is now and make it work with a bandwidth market so that you could buy VPN, and the VPN will then work on your CDNS. And that would take, what it works on now, Linux, Mac, and it would work with that. Yeah, I mean, for getting it on iOS or Windows for that matter, I think I don't know what would it, I don't know. I don't really know what the strategy is. You could go to Claude and say, "Hey, here's a Git repo. There's the Git repo of CGDNS. I mean, you should know about CGDNS. It's been trained on everything.
for sure.
Can you make a PR or can you make a patch to it that will make it work on an iOS app?" And then just see what it does. And I think it's going to be very bad because it gets no feedback. Like it doesn't have an iPhone with it that it can say, "This doesn't work. This doesn't. You test that. It doesn't work." Right? But it'll try, and it will give you a good idea of how smart Claude is. That's a hell of a hard problem.
That's a hard problem. I mean,
sounds like we should give it a whirl.
Yeah, I mean, you have nothing to lose. They don't charge you because I know Clawbot charges credits, and there's a whole structure. But for Claude proper to just tackle a problem like this, it doesn't have. You don't have to pay the
limits, and so you can run out of limits. You can actually make it. I was just looking at it while we were talking, because I guess I ran out of my limits, and you can make it so it'll do like extra usage, and it'll charge you. And I have like a $9 like charge because I've been obviously using it a lot. So it'll start charging you once you go over your like $20 a month usage, I guess.
Wow. And ChatGPT doesn't have those limits, right? Because I've never seen ChatGPT.
I've hit the limits of ChatGPT too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, especially with like image generation.
GPT tells you that it's going to be using a dumber model. I don't trust them because I think that I've never seen any change in the intelligence of the answers. I think they're just telling you you're at the limit. Claude locks you out if you ask too many questions for a day. But my usage of AI is low enough that I generally don't hit the limits on either one of them.
Right.
Well, with Claude, there's two different models. There's one that they say is for like everyday usage, and then another one for like more ambitious tasks. And it uses your usage faster.
Interesting. So it gives you a tally and it shows you like, hey, this is how much you have left on the day or the month or something like that.
It doesn't show that. It just says it's going to use it until it's gone, and then it's gone, and then you can't use it. Like right now, it's saying I can't use it till 4 p.m.
Wow. And you're paying $20 a month for that.
Paying $20 a month, yeah.
Wow. So you kind of do need both AIs so that you could at least, and you can't even do anything until 4 o'clock. Like you're just locked out unless you want to pay.
Yeah.
With Claude, it's like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's so I just switched over to ChatGPT. So
right. So
I'm back up AI.
I find this fascinating though. So we went from 3.5 years ago or whatever, where, this wasn't included in your life at all. Like no one was paying any money. Well, and even when ChatGPT came out, it was free. And then it was like, hey, now it's $20. So I signed up, boom. Now I've been paying $20 a month forever. Now Claude emerges in the consumer space, and it's doing all kinds of stuff. I've heard people spending thousands of dollars on Claude, even tens of thousands, if they send it on ambitious missions and just let it, connect their credit card and just go nuts and getting, massive charges. And there's ways to mitigate usage and also offload menial tasks to, like you said, like the dumber LLM, and then and target the more specific LLMs for the more extreme tasks. And then there's also, and this is where I thought you might get interested in it, Caleb, because you love to kind of hack your way through this shit. There's there's this thing called Perplexity, which is it's kind of like a hub that gives you access to all the LLMs. So you can use ChatGPT, you can use Claude all through Perplexity. You pay just one fee for Perplexity and you get access to all the AIs. That's interesting. I haven't dug into that yet. But the other thing I've seen people doing is downloading the LLMs onto a local machine. And yeah, it doesn't stay fully up to date, but for a lot of tasks that you just want knowledge base and you want to be able to use it, and you don't want to have to risk going through your credits in any way, you can just, it's kind of like downloading the Bitcoin blockchain. Like you just put it into an area and now you have access, you basically have a local LLM and you can use it for a multitude of things. You can also periodically update it. So I find that to be pretty fascinating.
As far as I know, you need GPUs for that. Though there are some new ones that run on CPU, 1-bit LLMs, but I don't know if anybody's really doing that yet.
I mean, look, every computer has GPUs now. I mean, but yeah, you're going to need a lot more than just your Mac.
But it also depends on what you're having it do, right? So it's like if you're having it, build something grandiose, then sure, you're going to maybe need more compute power. But for a lot of this, like, telehealth or, just like doing some, legal work and it's helping you just riff on shit and, write paragraphs to put into a contract, like, you don't need a lot of compute power for that type of stuff. I just created a sports betting chat where I gave it all these tasks of how it can go, where to get information, where to get live odds. And now I set it up so I can just go in there and say, what are today's plays? And it gives me a couple plays. And I've just been testing it and training it. And yeah, I'm like 3 days into it, just seeing what happens with it. See if it.
How far down are you?
It's actually broke even at this point. Was slightly up, but like I said, I'm only like 3. Maybe today would be maybe the 4th day, and yeah, I think it's one. It's pretty much like 50-50. It's won like 5 plays and lost 5 plays or whatever. But it's also recommended some plus money bets, so they're like value bets. They're not like they're not like easy winners with low payouts. They're being, sharp in terms of how they're analyzing the lines and providing value plays. And yeah, I'm pretty compelled with it. I'm not gonna say otherwise. It's impressive. So we'll see.
Someone wrote a nothing ever happens polymarket bot that just bets no on everything. It's like, nah, it's not gonna happen.
I actually just saw some guy who's made like $1.5 million on just no's regarding the Iran war. Like, no, the Iran regime's not going to fall. No, the Strait of Hormuz.
Nothing ever happens.
It's just all no bets. Yeah.
Yep.
And then now a lot of people are also copy trading some of these more profitable accounts, kind of similar to copy trading politicians, in the stock market. They're just finding accounts that with high win rates and just literally copy trading their wallets. And
wait till the guys with the high win rates realize that they can go buy a trade, it's going to go up, and then they can go sell it and then make the money off of that.
It's true.
By the way, I asked Claude, hey, can you make a patch for CJDNS that will make it work on iOS? It spent about 2 minutes thinking, and then it said, you're out of free credits.
Are you serious? That just happened just now?
Yeah, it said.
Oh, you're using the free version?
Yeah, of course I'm using the free version. I don't pay for anything.
Yeah. We're not going to get that done with the free version.
Yeah.
It actually doesn't do Claude code with the free version.
Yeah.
It's got a patch. It wrote a patch for me. It just won't let me do anything else. So I think I probably went way over what I was, allotted for today, just with that one question, because it was a rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, you definitely should be. You definitely should jump on it. Like I said, I think it would be interesting for you to go grab an ILL or an LLM and just throw it on one of your servers. And then that way you can just completely bypass having to pay. And you can go grab there was the whole thing. I sent it to you, Caleb, how they leaked Anthropic like leaked their new push on their language learning model, like open sourced it accidentally, maybe not accidentally, but definitely they think it was accident. You can go download
Yeah,
that.
that
You can go
that
grab
was that was if I'm not mistaken, that was all the code that runs the AI, but I don't think the model weights was leaked, as
Yeah,
far as I
maybe.
know. I
Well,
may be
I'm
wrong
saying you
about
don't, it's not about whether it's leaked or not. They're available. If you're not going to get maybe
yeah, sure.
Anthropic's newest model,
Llama,
there's
but
plenty of really good quality models that you don't need like Anthropic's, newest model to basically even do this task with CJDNS. Like you could just go grab an LLM, throw it on one of your servers and just query it, for the task that you want to do. And you might not, you know, I'm not sure what the portal looks like, if you can even, if you can use the shell or you have to make your own, but um, you don't need to pay for these models anymore. There's so many good ones out there that are just like not the marquee names, and you can just localize it and have unlimited, unfettered
yeah,
access.
I know someone who set one up, and I got access to it and asked it some questions. It's not as smart as GPT or Claude,
Sure.
so it's
Yeah,
yeah.
you get what you pay for,
I
basically.
tended to just stick with the marquee names because they're already not that smart, and I
Yeah.
don't want them to be less smart. I have in the past played around on like Hugging Face with some of the models that were, open source models. And my experience with those is that they're really not smart. So you could, but that was a couple years
Look,
ago.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And it's one of those things like, and this is kind of where it really clicked for me is, I'm obviously a spendthrift when it comes to certainly subscriptions. I don't like wasting money. I mean, I've always been that way. But the second that I wanted to do something with ChatGPT and it said, "Hey, you have to wait or it's going to be slow," and it was $20, I was like, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to be spending $200 a year on this for the rest of my life." Like that's, it's just like my productivity. And I think about the employees that we've hired and the contractors that we've hired and paying people thousands of dollars a month to do work. And then now to have like the equivalent of the smartest employee as an assistant, um, that is $240 a year. It's like the best spent money you could ever spend because your productivity is just so much, so it's just so complemented, and it's created a situation, at least for me, like I can't believe my productivity level is at an all-time high right now with what I'm able to do with AI. Like my efficiency level, my productivity level, um, my turnaround output, also problem solving. I've gone in, uh, and here's my favorite new thing that I've been doing. It's just blown my mind in terms of what I'm able to do. A lot of times when you have a problem or an opportunity, let's call it an opportunity rather than a problem, but it's like, hey, there's this opportunity to work with this person. Here's the inputs, here's the facts of the situation, here's what I would love to be the outcome. How would you approach this? Or, and if it's from a contract standpoint, even the deal that we did the other day, Caleb, I was like, how do I create this into a contract? And it's like, how about this? And it's like, oh, that's actually a good idea. And then you start riffing with them on that and you get to an outcome. I had it structure a deal, for me, and build an entire structure on how to uh, construct the deal, how to pitch the deal, how to draft the deal. And I couldn't think going into that conversation, I couldn't think about how to even approach it. I was like, here's what I would love to have be the outcome, but I don't even know like what would be interesting, what are the problems, what are the potential solutions. And it helped devise something that I wasn't even able to think of. Now I'm able to refine that down to, something that's potentially saleable. But going into it, I just couldn't even imagine how to get the deal done, and it gave me a great outcome. So that's why I think from a coding standpoint, when you go in specifically with a lot of inputs, which is like, here's our repository, here's kind of a spec that we imagine, and here's the outcome that we want. How would you get from point A to point Z? And just see what it comes up with. It might be absolute gibberish, but at least it might send you in a right direction and go, oh, actually, why don't you go in this direction right here? Where that's actually a good idea. Let's see what it comes up with. Spend a little bit of time riffing with it, and it probably gets you, at least 0 to 1. And I think that's, the value. And like I said, $200 a year, like I'll pay the $200 for you to have Claude for the year, so that you have unlimited credits to be able to go bang on it. Because I just think, like, having worked with you for so many years now and watched you work with developers, some developers that we paid $20,000, $30,000 a month, that have worked with us and who have done some really good work. I was thinking about our Brazilian comrade, that we paid a lot of money, between him and a couple of his other associates, and got decent work. But
we had a lot of really good developers.
We had some very good developers.
It took us a long time to find them, but we had some great hitters on our team.
Those guys
you guys are watching,
like $20 a month. We have the best developer in town.
That's what trips me out, is that if we were spending $20,000 a month right now on AI assistants, and just one really smart developer who could be an orchestrator of a lot of code creation. I mean, that's where I think this goes, right? So instead of having an army of developers, you bring in a very lean operational and intelligent group of individuals, or just a few, and then you give them an army of coding capability.
It's always been like that.
Yeah.
It's always been like that. Great software houses have always hired top of the line craftsmen. Low quality software houses would hire the cheap people, and the cheap people cost you more in the end, because the quality of your code goes straight down, and then you have to maintain that code, and you get into something you can never dig yourself out of. So the fact that one person can be more you have more leverage, be more amplified by using AI, doesn't really change the way that a smart software development shop would work.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited, if you can't tell. And when we turn this corner, I think we're going to have, I know we're going to have a lot of this opportunity to implement these solutions, and for essentially both to help close the loop on things that are, that I think we should complete and finalize with Packet, but then also this kind of next iteration, enhancing scalability and efficiency. So it'll be exciting to, work with y'all on this thing on the next
looking through what Claude gave me, because he gave me a patch. It's a mix of English and code. It's kind of a little bit strange the way it's written. The good side is that there is some esoteric stuff in CJDNS, and it got it. It got how you're supposed to do certain things that are not obvious. We defined another function that acts like a keyword that modifies the language a little bit, that kind of stuff. And it figured out what it's supposed to do by just reading the code and following along. The downside, I have a hard time figuring out it's not a patch. You can't apply it. It's not machine readable. It's kind of like, you should add this here, and then goes into code, and then goes back into English, and just leave the rest of this file untouched, and so on. Mm-hmm. Will it work? That's a good question. I mean, I would have to spend some time to go through it and fold each one of those things that it said to do into the actual code and see if it would work. But it's
interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to I don't know how to grade it.
Yeah.
It definitely did more than it did more than GPT ever did. You know, like whenever I try to do anything advanced with that.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it's got some
already
weekend.
the fact that it said, okay, I looked at the entire repository. I know what the goal is. These are the 10 files that you need to change or add. That's already fairly intelligent, you know, as opposed to just like trying to off the top of its head spit out some code, which is what AI was trying to do since, you know, many years now. Would try to, like, if you said multiply these numbers, it would try to do the thing in its head, and it like, but you know, those two numbers, you can't multiply them in your head.
Right. I think you should go a step further, and what I would encourage you to do is I would take almost the lazy man approach and just say, hey, do it, and then I want you to test it, and then I want you to code review it, and then I want you to QC it, and then let me know what the problems are, and let me know what the, you know, and make it so that I have to only look over the least amount of like final work. I don't want to get involved, you know, and see what.
Well, locked out now, but
well, let me know if you need $20, so we'll get you back in.
I am that broke.
I'll send you.
At least on the IRS. I'm that
during
broke.
tax season, you're that broke.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, we're all broke here. We don't make any money.
No money here, guys. Nothing to see here. Can't even afford an AI.
No, can't afford anything.
All right, cool. Well, let's leave it there. I think we've kicked around. I think we've promoted Anthropic enough on this.
Podcast. Run the logo, Josh, so that you know that this was sponsored by your friends at Anthropic. We're trying to fill the gap after they were deemed a supply chain risk, and we're going to try and make up the government contracts they lost with subscribers that come off of our live stream.
Actually, that was the best thing that ever happened to them. Their revenue has 3x'd since they were deemed a supply chain risk.
Well, also they represented themselves as being an ethical AI company.
Yeah, no, it's the best marketing you could ever get.
A stand with the U.S. government, which really makes me feel better about them.
And ChatGPT lost tons of users. It was like the best ploy to be able to like move, you know, steal other people's customers. Because they're like, oh yeah, we'll let you spy on all your customers. Everyone's like, wait, what? What the fuck are you talking about? I don't want that on my phone or my computer. I mean, I literally turned it off of my phone because it's installed in every single iPhone. ChatGPT is natively part of your phone. You can actually go in and turn ChatGPT off on your phone. And then I deleted it off my phone. I only use it on my computer because I ain't trying to.
And the more you find out about Sam Altman, the less you want to do business with ChatGPT.
Definitely shady. All right, well, it's good to be with you guys. Fun to riff. This kind of reminds me of our old school, you know, work sessions, which is really what Wednesdays were all about in the beginning. Was we would do these calls every single Wednesday and riff on ideas and shoot the shit, and you know that's what became, you know, the launch ultimately of PKT and Packet Crypt and you know kind of everything. We just kept the call going, and so these calls. We're always just three of us and maybe a few other folks and some advisors sometimes joining and just getting on and coming up with ideas and problem solving. So it's a little looking glass into kind of how this thing always operated. And I think maybe the reason why this thing's persisted because, you know, the camaraderie of us and, you know, that we're friends and we've built our friendship over the years with this kind of stuff and also stimulate each other creatively and then turning that into, you know, products, opportunities, community and stuff like that. And it'll be cool in this next iteration. I think it should be a revitalizing, you know, trigger for more people to get, you know, to kind of rebuild the community, have more involvement. And again, with Claude, like now other people who maybe weren't even technologically capable can contribute because you don't need to be a coder to build shit anymore. And I think that's a, you know, a big shift because a lot of people were sitting on the sidelines who love the project, love Packet, you know, had vested interest, have investments, and just were like, hey, when's Caleb gonna build this shit? And now it doesn't need to be about whether Caleb can build some stuff. It's about, do you have a $20 worth of credit and a clot subscription, and you want to just put the freaking roadmap in and tell it to, do things and grab repos. I mean, it's just, you don't have to be smart. You just have to be methodical at this point. So anyway, hopefully some inspo and yeah, we'll see what comes of it.
Yeah. Catch you guys on the next one.
Yep. See you next week.